So you guys, you had the beer pour in your glass. You had the chance to smell it and taste it a little bit. Who's want to go first?
Why not, I guess. It's quite nice. I think it's a red or a porter. We were just discussing that before we came on air. It's quite malty. It tastes like it's not got a lot of hops. It's pretty dark malts as well. But it doesn't quite taste like a stout or anything to me, anyway. That's what I think.
Okay, Sarah?
Yeah, I would say it's definitely a darker beer. It's probably a red. It's very malty, but there's not a whole lot of body. It's a little bit of on the lighter side. But yeah, very malty, not too hoppy, so probably a red, I'd say.
Okay. Ben?
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
I'd say it's definitely a porter or a stout. I think most porters I've tried from Ireland tend to have a little bit of sweetness to them. This is a bit drier, so I'd go with the stout. I don't think it's a red ale. It's just got too much kind of chocolatey, kind of bitter, dark kind of flavours on it. Yeah, it's certainly not a black IPA either. There's not a lot of hop profile. The nose is interesting. You certainly wouldn't know it was a stout or a porter or a red from the nose. It's got a tiny bit of lemon, something citrusy, but no kind of toasted malts or anything.
Okay.
I don't know where the microphone is. Yeah, I'd love to have something radical to say that's completely different to everybody else. But it tastes dark to me. It doesn't have much of a nose of anything really. It's not hop driven. It tastes dark. To me, it has that kind of dryness of an Irish stout or porter, but I think it's in around 5% dark, probably a porter or stout beer.
Okay. What do you think is the ABV on the beer? You have the microphone between both of you. We'll go around the table again.
I'd say, I think if I'm right, it's probably about 5%. I don't think it's 6 or up. It's 5 or lower, if anything. It hasn't got a lot of body, like Sarah said. Yeah, 5 I would say, to be honest.
4.2.
That's very precise.
It's an educated guess, I guess.
I can lose there. I said in around 5. Certainly not over 5, I'd say.
Yeah, I'd say under 5, maybe 4.5.
4.5, okay. And what do you think of the beer in general? Is it so? Do you enjoy it?
To me, it's not a very exciting beer.
The guest actually blind.
I just tried to headbutt the microphone. It's an okay beer. There's nothing. It's a well-made beer. There's no off flavors. It's nice, but it's not exciting. It's not a groundbreaking beer.
Okay. Anybody else want to add something?
You could drink a lot of this. It's really sessionable, I think. Not a lot of body, not too much alcohol. It's not too hoppy either. It's not like stripping the palate off your. Sorry, it's going off your palate. Obviously, it's quite malty. It's even like a slight bit of tang at the end, like slightly sour. It's really quenching, but it's not the most exciting or amazing beer that you're going to have in your life.
Sarah, what do you think?
I think it is. It's a bit sweet. I think the initial aroma that I got off of it was very yeasty, kind of in a fruity way. And then after a few sips, it definitely has a lingering sweetness to it. So, personally, I prefer more hops than this, but I think that it could be very enjoyable and, like they said, like a very sessionable beer.
A good barbecue beer?
Yeah.
What about you, Ben?
I'm not the biggest fan of Irish craft stout and porter, because I find they tend to be a lot sweeter than my palate would like, and I find this drier than the average one. Like, for instance, Dark Arts I find quite sweet. So whilst it's not a very expressive beer, it has very little nose. I like the dryness, so yeah, you could drink this away, no problem.
Okay, so what do you think is a style before we take off the blind mask and reveal the beer?
I'm gonna go with porter. It's in between the red and the stout, so I'm gonna go with porter.
Porter. Okay. Sarah?
Yeah, after a few sips, I'd say I'm leaning towards porter. So
Okay, Ben?
I'm going to stick with stout.
Start? Okay.
I'm going to go with stout/porter because I don't think we've long enough to agree on difference between the two.
All right. We can take off the blind mask and reveal the beer.
Jesus.
The beer is
A red.
9 White Deer Stag, which is actually a red.
Well, it tasted a lot darker than it looks.
Yeah.
I was convinced it was a porter.
Who is it?
9 White Deer.
9 White Deer.
Yes. It's a fairly new brewery. They're based in Ballyvonor, in West Cork, west of Macroom at least.
Yeah.
And they have at the moment 2 beers. They do quite a bit of contract for the people.
It's the first I've had of Nine White Deer. It's like I said, it's not groundbreaking in terms of like this. It's not out there. Like there's beers in Ireland that are kind of more earth shattering than this, but like it's really sessionable.
I think it's a very sessionable beer. There's nothing wrong with it. I'd be quite happy if somebody were to give me this to me at the barbecue. I could, but I'd be also happier with something a little bit more hoppy.
Yeah.
But I mean, who here is a hophead? We know we have 2 hopheads, 3 actually, myself included. What about you?
Yeah.
So all of us, we.
And I think it is important to kind of take that on board as well, that we're all self-confessed hopheads.
Yeah.
Not all beer has to be hoppy. So
Okay.
you need to try and judge beer not just on its level of hops. In the same way, you don't judge beer just on its level of alcohol.
Well, let's go back to the moment you were blindfolded and you first tasted the beer. What was your first impression? Nice?
My first
Was
impression was a bit of a lack of nose.
Yeah.
A bit of a lack of anything off the nose,
Mhm.
which isn't a great start. But I drank it and it was nice. There was no flavours I didn't like in there. But to me, and now I can see it's red. I still taste a lot of dark malt flavours, dark roasty malt flavours. So I like the dryness of it, and yeah, it's clean. It's well made. It's a nice beer. Probably not a go-to style beer for me. I tend to go often hoppier, but usually more towards the paler beers are very dark, high alcohol beers.
Yeah, the thing is, I mean, we have to remember that, I mean, we are upheads. Not everybody likes up bombs. And a lot of people, actually, a lot more people that drink beers that are not hoppy than hoppy beer, than people that drink hoppy beer. So
I think like people who would like, say, kind of English ruby beers. I think that's the kind of the style it's heading towards. It's malty and quite big.
were you guys surprised it was a red? Because, I mean, the overall impression that it was at least a porter of a style.
I feel cheated. I wouldn't call that an atypical red by any stretch. I would call that a red stout. If you were to say compare it to sort of the standard reds on the market at the moment, like the Rebel Red, they would have a lot less bitter finish. I can still taste the finish. It's got a very long finish for a red ale, which tend to be more quaffable beers. Straight away I wouldn't have said that was a red due to the bitterness in the end. Having said I feel cheated, half the guests guessed it right. So
I think I feel very foolish now because my first impression was that this was Stag Rua, which I actually just tried recently. But everyone convinced me that it was a porter by the end because it is very sweet after a few sips, and I do think it's very sessionable, and I think what they're going for is an Irish red that could convert a macro drinker. And
what food would you pair it with?
Crackers.
Toffee. maybe.
Grilled fish.
Nah, I couldn't. I don't eat fish, so that'd be a no for everything. Yeah.
But stick with your impression, because if you, I read recently that if you're in a room with a certain amount of people and somebody asks you a simple question and say 2 + 2 and you will say 4, but everybody else in the room say 5, then eventually you will change your mind and say 5 as well. So just
Well, that happens all the time in judging beer in competitions. You have your own impressions, then the committee kind of discusses it, and you're like, oh yeah, I taste grapefruit now.
That's very interesting. Okay, we're gonna go on a musical break. Sorry, and we guys, you can finish your glass, and we're gonna taste the next one. So see you in a minute.